Yeah, the number one that I would say would be the don't leave your steady income job. Don't leave your steady income job if you're bootstrapping. And unless you're downsizing, don't move. Don't move. Definitely keep your financial situation as steady as possible while you're going through the motions of getting that startup up and going. So there's that. And just to add a little bit of variety, that would be my number one.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7 and 8 figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where he helps startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. You ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast. Excuse me, Vinny Williams. And Vinny started his journey in Cincinnati, going to high school there. During the teenage years, loved to write music. And so at the age of 17, got a recording deal and left high school to pursue the music career, and found out the music career and the people are there, and decided to, or people go to school in that industry. And so with that, got a group together, and I think did that from 2003 to 2007. Also got a GED around 2005. The group disbanded, went to bartending, and I think did the solo career for a period of time before revisiting and going to college, and got an associate's degree there, and then decided to be I think a police officer while saving up to build home recording or home studio recordings area. And then in 2018, decided to get into something else, and so decided to start a security company, and got one contract and built it up from there, and then switched over to what he's doing now as well. So lots of fun and exciting things. And with that much as the introduction, welcome on the podcast, Vinny.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, sounds like quite the journey, and I condensed it into the 30 or 45-second version of it. But
Exactly.
why don't we rewind and unpack that a bit? So tell us a little bit about how your journey got started in Cincinnati, going to high school.
Yeah. So now I was just gonna say, hearing all that back, like it was a lot going on back then. Had a long journey, man. A long road getting to this point. But yeah. So uh, '03, that was my senior year in high school. I ended up getting a record deal with Sony Epic Records. I was actually in a group, placed into a group. So that's how I ended up in that group situation from 2003 until 2007. Our first album was called the ATL Project. We released that internationally. We actually only released one album before things went south with that. Typical music
Just
industry
to
kind
rewind
of
that
story.
just a little bit. So in high
Yeah.
school, and if I remember our conversation right, so you loved doing writing. You got the group together. Now,
Yes.
you ended up leaving high school or not finishing it to pursue the music career? Is that right?
Yeah. So in high school, I was always well. Actually, I didn't make the group. The group was actually placed together. I moved. I came to Atlanta. I auditioned for the group, and I ended up making the cut. So that's how I ended up in the group. And me and my family ended up moving from Cincinnati to Atlanta. So that's how I ended up here. Um, and I don't know, just all throughout high school, I just was always like super focused on music. I loved music. So I didn't, I mean, I wasn't, I did okay in school, but I didn't excel. I was, I wasn't like an exemplary student. I was
Hmm.
always like, I love to write. So I was always in class, like writing music, writing poems, like just writing random thoughts. Like, so yeah, in the 12th grade in 2003, I actually ended up leaving. That's when I got the record deal. So I ended up leaving high school, and pursuing the music. And between 2003, 2007, around 2005, I started to see, okay, well, this don't seem like it's going the greatest. So let me go back and get a GED or get something that I can kind of land on if this thing does go south. So yeah, 2005, I ended up going and getting a GED. And Yeah, did you want me to dive into the rest of everything that happened
So
beyond 2007 or?
now, just one follow-up question. So you got the GED in 2005. I think if I remember right, you had the group was together from around 03 to 07. Is that right?
Yes, '03 to '07. We toured. The recording portion of it was probably from like '03 to '05, '06. And we released the album, I think it was '04. But from there, like from '04 to '07, we just toured. We toured all over the globe, man, just performing and doing different like tours, opening up for different artists and things like that. So
So now you
yeah.
did that for a few years, open with the different artists, and then you said you went and got the GED, and then I think the group disbanded around 2007, and you went to
Yes.
do kind of pursue both a solo career as well as doing some bartending. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. '07, beginning of '07, I got into bartending and started doing my own thing. Just linked up with a manager like on the south side of Atlanta, just like somebody I met while bartending, and just he had a few connections, so just work those connections, try to see what I could make shake at the time. But things weren't going the greatest. Just having to try to depend on other folks, like for studio time and things like that. Like and what you'll notice also about like um, my the course that I took, like I've always been entrepreneurial spirited, whether it's been like singing or like a contract or trying to do my own thing with the record label, my own solo situation, and beyond becoming a police officer, I actually got into that's how I ended up becoming a police officer because I got tired of dealing like waiting on folks for studio time. So I'm like, while I went to college to get my associate's degree in criminal justice, and somebody came in and was speaking to our class about becoming a police officer at one of the local departments here in Atlanta, and just hearing about the benefits, being able to like have a courtesy officer apartment and live for either half rent or totally free and like working part-time jobs and getting extra money. So I'm like, okay, well, this sounds like an awesome way to be able to save up for a home recording studio. So
Hmm.
that's how I ended up getting jumping into law enforcement, man. And did that from 2011 to 2018. I actually got my associate's degree in criminal justice in 2011. But by 2018, I had my recording studio. Um, and was kind of burnt out of the law enforcement thing. So that's when I decided to step back and pursue some new entrepreneurial endeavors.
So now let me just
Things were kind of,
follow up. So
yeah, go ahead.
2000 and now 2018, is that when you fully built out the home recording studio, or did you start to do things kind of on the side, or kind of walk us through? Because sometimes you'll just say, hey, I'm burnt out, I'm gonna make this leap full time, come heck or high
Yeah.
water, we're gonna make this work. Another time you kind of started out incrementally is, hey, we'll do this part-time on the side hustle, we'll start to build that out while you're still or doing the kind of quote unquote day job. And so walk us
Mm-hmm.
through a little bit as you're the police officer and also work or
Yep.
building out that home studio, kind of what was that sequence of things.
Got it. So like I said, 2011, that's when I first got into law enforcement. So by 2014 is actually when I had the home studio complete. So 2014, I had the home recording studio linked up with a producer, a couple artists, and I was bringing them under my label, uh, but ran into friction with who was it? I mean, just getting on the same page with folks, like different engineers trying to get them to come in. Like what my goal was to put a team together and work together towards a goal of putting our music together, putting our music out, and reaping the benefits. But what the way a lot of folks work is everybody wants to get like paid up front. Folks don't. A lot of people don't really have that foresight to be able to say, okay, well, let's work together and accomplish this, and then we can get to the money. But everybody wants to get the money up front. So I ended up running into basically the same issue once I had the home recording studio. Um, instead of having to pay folks to go and work in their studio, it was the issue of uh, uh, okay, well now I have to try to pay an engineer to come in and engineer this studio because I wasn't real big on like engineering and technical things. Like I said, I love to write. I'm
Mm.
real involved in like the creative aspect, and I sing as well. So, but things ended up being slow. Things ended up being slow with the studio. Uh,
Mm.
but yeah, so
So now, so you were doing, you doing the studio, things are a bit maybe slower than anticipated. And then I think
yeah,
along those lines, you decided, okay, as and that's, not unheard of for a business, right? Startup, it's
right,
either
right.
things are slower because, hey, you're figuring things out, you're going a different direction, or hey, you thought the market was different than what it was. And it's just part of that
You
kind of
can't get folks on the
entrepreneur.
same page.
Yep.
Yeah.
And but kind of part of that entrepreneurial journey. And so now along with that, you decided, in addition to the studio, or alongside of that, you're also going to start your own security company. Is that right?
Yeah, so yeah, this was in 2018, so 4 years later. Like I said, with the law enforcement thing, it was just coming to the end of the road with that journey, and just thinking about so I would say probably about 2016, 2017 is kind of when I started to slow up with the label.
Hmm.
And so by 2018, it's like, okay, well, what can I do that makes the most sense? I already had my certifications as an officer. Um, and I mean, it just seemed like the natural or a natural next step to pursue security. Um, because I already had the training, I already had the experience, and I don't have to get as involved as an officer would. Like if I run into a situation at work, now I can call 911 and not necessarily have to be 911 to answer the call and handle that situation or whatever the case may be. So that was kind of, I don't know, it was just sort of a relief for me.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I ended up doing security, and it was actually when I was working the security job that I came up with the idea for Address Me, which is my social network, my tech startup. So this was in September 2018. I started working the I started working my first contract with the security job. I want to say like around May or June of 2018, and by September, that's when I had come up with the idea for Address Me. So as soon as I came up with the idea for like this tech startup, I just knew instantly like, okay, this is something that I feel like I want to stick with, and this is going to be the one that whatever comes, hell or high water, this is I'm here with Address Me. So
Hmm. So now, all along all of those things, I think you also have Address Me, which is or that sparked that idea, and it's kind of the one of the current endeavors you're doing, which is the social media platform that you're working on. So, kind of fill us in. You got the
yep.
recording studio. Now, is the recording studio still going and still kind of a side hustle, or did that you shut that down as you're doing the security company? So, you have this potential recording studio, you got the security company, and then you're also doing social media platforms. So kind of walks through how those all blend together.
Yeah. So I'm not currently working the studio. So like I said, just getting an engineer to come in and work, that was kind of issue. So I mean I still have all the studio equipment, but I'm currently eventually, like I said, I'm getting back into the music because I love music, I love writing. So that's something that I'm definitely going to get back into. Um and the security company, I stepped away from that. I stepped away from that and started focusing on Address Me. And basically, what Address Me is, it's a social network that's aimed at avoiding the vulnerabilities and uncertainties associated with initial face-to-face interactions. So basically, within the software of the platform, we have a ease of introduction tool, what I like to call it, that I basically created that puts people into searchable terms based off easily identifiable visual characteristics about folks. So something that I can look at somebody, and there are three visual characteristics that I can look at about this person, enter them into the filter, and no matter what space you're in, whether you're at a grocery store, at on a college campus or at work or whatever the case may be. As long as that person is also on the platform, you enter that information into the filter, and everybody within the radius, apply it to a radius 10 feet, 20 feet, all the way out to 150 feet, however, whatever distance you perceive that person to be within that radius of you. Everybody within that radius matching that criteria that you entered into the filter will populate. And from there, it's like a back and forth sort of process, connection process to make things safe in order to connect. And so it's an ease of introduction tool to be able to make those connections with the folks around you under circumstances where otherwise you probably wouldn't be able to connect.
Awesome. So now give us an idea, where's that, so with that idea or building out that platform, is that something that's still in process in the idea stage? It's been introduced, launched in the marketplace, and kind of,
Yes,
alongside of
yes,
that, what are
yes.
you, or where are you, or where's everything else at as well?
Yes, so it's actually a very exciting time. We're still in the idea phase, but we're moving into development, and hopefully have it out by the end of this year. I'm claiming it. I'm claiming it. We'll have it dress me out before the end of 2023, and uh, yeah, it'll be out and available for consumption.
Awesome. Well, sounds like are soon to come, and some exciting times for for you and for everyone. So now as you're introducing that, getting ready to launch it, now are you still running the security company and or the recording studio alongside of that, or is this your full-time focus or endeavor, kind of, or what's the status of everything else is alongside of it?
So I actually not I'm not doing the studio. I'm not doing the security. I did just write a book. I just wrote a book called Innovation Made Easy. And basically in the book sharing insights about uh, uh, how, or it's basically for aspiring entrepreneurs and innovators. I'm speaking in a book about ways to innovate, my process of how I ended up innovating the filter for Address Me, and just ways to easily come up with innovative solutions that other people wouldn't necessarily think about to create in order to hopefully inspire and help, like I said, the aspiring entrepreneurs and innovators to create their own solutions and start their own companies. And also in the book, I'm speaking about uh, just sharing my journey, talking about different tips and insights uh, to offer to them and encourage them and motivate them on their journey. And it's called Innovation Made Easy. So I just wrote that book. Um, Looking to release that this month, in addition to the things that I'm doing with Address Me. So those are currently like the two aspects that I'm focused on: the book and starting the development with Address Me. Definitely.
Awesome. Well, sounds like a lot of great opportunities, a lot of things coming along, and
Very exciting
great
time.
journey. So that definitely sounds exciting. So, well, awesome. Well, now as we've kind of reached the present day of your journey, always a great time to transition to the two questions always asked at the end of each episode. So the first question I'd like to ask is, along your journey, what was the worst business decision you ever made, and what'd you learn from it?
Yep. So the worst business decision I would say that I made is I ended up taking my sister's advice, and this actually that's how I ended up getting out of the security job. Had like a little bit of drama going on up at the job, and my sister came to me and said, "Hey, you can get back into bartending," because I had a bartending background like after leaving the group. So she said, "Okay, well, you know what? I got a job at where a place where she was working at the time, and she said, "Oh, you can get great money. You can make a lot more than you were making at the time, or you making that doing security or whatever." So I ended up leaving the security job and starting that bartending gig, and it just didn't turn out at
Hmm.
all how I had planned or expected. So that was pretty much a disaster. And in addition to that, um I made a bad move. I ended up moving out of my house and into uh, a studio apartment in the city. That was pretty much two times more than what I was paying for my mortgage, and just bad decisions all around. Man, that was a bad combo. Ended up leaving that job, my steady income, um, and moving into a spot that was I was paying a lot more. So bad combo, and trying to bootstrap a startup with that. No, not a good combo, man. So those would be the worst.
Well, it sounds, it's one of those that's always in a bit of the timing. Sometimes you jump in, too late and you miss the window, or you don't, if you're not engaged full steam ahead, then sometimes you're not able to really give it the time and attention you deserve, and vice versa. Sometimes you jump in and you're saying, hey, maybe I jumped in a bit too quickly, or I need to have enough runway, and so you're always balancing that. So it sounds like certainly an
Yes.
easy mistake to make, but a great one to learn from.
Yes. Yes.
Second question that now I like to ask is, so now if you're talking to somebody that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what would be the one piece of advice you give them?
So, excuse me, and actually, excuse me. So, and this is actually not, yeah, this is, like I said, I spoke about the book that I was writing, The Innovation Made Easy. And so I actually have some tips in that book. So I just grabbed a couple of tips from, there's 11 different tips that I shared from my journey, just to assist. And yeah, the number one that I would say, would be don't leave your steady income job. Don't leave your steady income job if you're bootstrapping. And unless you're downsizing, don't move. Don't move. Definitely keep your financial situation as steady as possible while you're going through the motions of getting that startup up and going. So there's that. And just to add a little bit of variety, that would be my number one. But in addition to that, I would say uh, definitely appreciate and dedicate yourself to the design research, because it's very easy to have somewhat of a decent solution, and to want to rest on that instead rather than go back, and like if you know that there's something about your solution that might be off or might need a little bit more work, is instead of going back to do like to reset the design research and uh, uh, have to go through that process again to figure out, okay, well, what did I miss the first time around, or what new is there to discover, in order to get the solution 100% to where it needs to be. It's very easy to just fall back and say, okay, well, you know what, I'm halfway there, so let me just
Hmm.
release what I have and just keep going, or whatever the case may be. But you will end up paying for that on the back end, whether it's in investor meetings and they're asking you, okay, well, why is this missing? Or it seems like it's a little janky here, or whatever the case may be. Or you could end up running into a competitor who has thought the solution out a little bit better than you have. And um, you don't want to end up in that situation.
No, I think that's definitely a great piece of advice and a great takeaway. So, well, now as we wrap up the episode, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
Well, you can go to www.addressmeapp.com. That's addressmeapp.com, and fill out the form on the site. I'll get your email and I will reach back out to you.
Awesome. Well, I definitely encourage people to reach out, make a new connection, support a great business. If nothing else, make a new best friend. So, well, with that, thank you again, Vinny, for coming on the podcast. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you, their listeners that are out there, if you have your own journey to share and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, we'd love to have you. So just go to inventiveguest.com, apply to be on the podcast. A couple more things as listeners, make sure to click share, subscribe, leave us a review, helps us to reach even more startups and small businesses to help them along their journey to success. And on that note, if along your journey you ever need help with patents or trademarks or anything else with your startup or your small business, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Thank you again, Vinny, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Hey, my pleasure, Devin. I appreciate you having me, man.